Welcome to the second Postcards from the Future event. My name is Kat van der Straten and I am with Energize Wayland, which is the local grassroots climate action group here that is actually hosting this event. And you'll be hearing about Energize Wayland later. I have the task of sharing some housekeeping notes with you. First of all, I wish we were in a real house together, but unfortunately we still find ourselves in this Zoom room. And as you all know by now, I'm sure, mysterious and unpredictable Zoom things do happen. So please do bear with us. But you could help by keeping yourselves muted so we can minimize background noise. We are recording, like I just said. We will share this video publicly. So if you do not want to be recognized, that's fine. You can just turn off your video and change your name as well. We have something really special in mind for you today. It's something quite experimental. And in the spirit of true experimentation, none of us facilitators and designers of this thing will actually really know what's going to happen. We're quite curious. But we ran a first version of this on Sunday, where it was well received, but the people who were there on Sunday and who are back maybe, they will actually see that we've changed quite a few things. So we hope that this event will actually keep on getting better, keep on evolving, and we deeply appreciate your feedback about that. However, while we run most of the parts, we do ask that you keep your comments and questions to the chat. Someone will be monitoring the chat at all times, and we will respond in the chat. And if that's not possible, we will get back to your question or your comment later in the evening. You can also use these reaction buttons. Anyone who hasn't discovered those yet, it's in that bar at the bottom. You can play around with some fun reactions there. Press the 3 dots, and there's so many more reactions. That's a new thing about Zoom. So please use those liberally. We love those. We will be using some technology. We'll be using Zoom breakout rooms, and outside of Zoom too, we'll be using an online game and a sticky board. Anyone who thinks that for them this may be an issue or a challenge, just put your name with technologically challenged or some such thing in the chat, and we will try to find a solution for you. We don't want technology to be a barrier for this. So that's it for some rather unimaginative housekeeping. Luckily, I also have the honor of introducing this event and our wonderful facilitators. So I am sure that you're wondering what it is we are actually going to be doing this. What is this, this thing, Postcards from the Future? Well, some of you may have actually received a postcard from the future. Wave if you did. Anyone got an actual postcard from the future?
I got one.
You got one? Oh, Michael, do you want to share it? Do you want to show it?
It's actually, this is mine. It's right here. I don't know if you guys can see that.
I will spotlight you.
That's pretty great. Just read it to you. It says, "Dear 2021 self, you'll be glad to hear that Wayland in 2050 is a fantastic place." It's actually postmarked from 2050, which is impressive that it made it here. Turns out that round about 2021, you really got your act together on climate change, and it's even signed by me. So that was just extraordinary. And when I got that, I found some other people's and I passed it out to them. So they were equally surprised.
Thank you, Michael. So yes, imagine that that you really get by some magic such a postcard from the future. Imagine it is also as encouraging and as hopeful as this one is. Imagine you get such a message on a day like this, a day like any other day nowadays, when the news is bad and we are told over and over again that the situation is dire and that we need to hurry, and people keep promising they will do something about climate change, but nothing seems to be happening or nothing seems to be working. Imagine that on a day like that, you get such a card. So, you know, I actually personally think that the situation is quite worrisome and that we do need to act urgently. And I really think the heat is on. But I also want to share that I don't think that that's the only truth here. And I also don't let that stop me from imagining that a beautiful future is possible. So can I ask all of you in the room, and I want to go back to gallery view here. When was the last time you imagined a beautiful future, a thriving future? Not just, you know, thought about it abstractly or vaguely wished for one, but when you really sat down and imagined something like that in detail, with all your senses in play and with joy. You know, studies actually show that it has become really hard for many of us to do such a thing. And Rob Hopkins, who's my hero, he brought out this new book. Oh, yes, now you can see it. From What Is to What If. And I would dearly love to start a book club on this book. So if you're interested, let me know. He writes, sadly, it seems far easier to imagine almost any dystopian scenario than the possibility that we might actually still have the competence to act, to dig ourselves out of the many holes of our own making and to create something else. That's what he writes. And he also quotes Robin Kelley, who wrote Freedom Dreams, The Black Radical Imagination. Robin Kelley has some ideas why dystopia is so rampant. He says, sometimes I think the conditions of daily life, of everyday oppressions, of survival, not to mention the temporary pleasures accessible to most of us, render much of our imagination inert. We are constantly putting out fires, responding to emergencies, finding temporary refuge, all of which make it difficult to imagine anything other than the present. Unquote. I don't know about you, but I feel like, oftentimes I feel like I'm imprisoned in the present, and imprisoned in the present, it's tough to say that one. And it comes with this sense of inevitability that I know is false. And I make it a point then when I find myself in this situation to put my imagination to work. And I imagine then in detail, a more equal, more just, more beautiful, more healthy, more delicious, more regenerative future. So just to be clear, imagining such a beautiful future isn't the same as predicting it. I wouldn't dare to predict the future. And I'm also not talking about utopia. I'm talking about real possibilities, about a future Wayland, say in 2030, where things turned out okay, just okay, and where everything that could possibly have been done was done, and where we took bold, brilliant, and decisive action. And I think we should be doing this imagining together. And I also hope, of course, that doing so will stir our longing for a better world. And then, of course, that we will actually want to make it happen. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We are going to go, in Rob Hopkins's wise words, from what is to what if to what next. We're going to follow that arc tonight. So first, what is? We're going to warm up with a rant. Yes, you heard that correctly. We're going to be real here, you know. We're going to acknowledge that we have fears and concerns and that everything is not hunky-dory. And we don't want to suppress those worries because if we do so, we know they go hide in the shadows and turn into monstrous things that then stop us from imagining what could be different. So fellow Waylanders, Jano Mendel Suarez and Pablo Suarez are going to help us rant about what is. And then next to what if, Michael Delman, he will guide us into imagining a thriving Wayland in 2030. You know, that Wayland where everything that was possibly, or that could possibly have been done will have been done. And we'll do this in some detail. and quite imaginatively in small groups. And at that point, we will be writing some postcards. And then lastly, we'll look at some resources that are already in place in town here. There's quite a few of them. And also the places where you can plug into the great Wayland climate mobilization. So that's the plan for tonight. Everyone ready? All right, I will pass it on to Pablo and Jano. The room is yours.
Hello, friends. We're actually here. And we are just hoping that everything will be entertaining for you while also being productive and fruitful. What we're going to do now is going to be unusual. You know how most of these events have our physical presence be kind of flat, two-dimensional, and the heart just palpitates at the usual rate? We're going to engage in a different kind of heartbeat. We're going to rant. We're going to be thinking about the things that piss us off. What is it that is infuriating? So please go to the chat. Think about the likely future that we're heading towards, whether it's tomorrow or next month or next year or next decade or next generation. And write 1 or 2 or 3 words that capture what is it that is wrong with that future. Open the chat, write something, 1, 2, no more than 3 words that depict what you think is wrong with the future of Wayland with regards to climate. You're welcome to write multiple entries, very short ones. What's wrong with the future if we keep going the way we're going? There's something wrong with involvement. There's something wrong with fossil fuel reliance. Too many people don't care is a little bit more than 3 words, but it's okay. I get it. Yes, keep it coming. Keep it coming. Rain your topics. Yes, there's so much that could happen that is not exactly of our liking. Right. Even mansions. There's so much that we could talk about. Now, what we're going to do, for those of you who have a laptop and not a phone, I'm going to give you a little website. When I push a button, you will have exactly 120 seconds to rant, to let your fury become text. What is it that is wrong with the future where we're heading? And keep it coming. There's 5 seconds or so left. Make sure to send your last sentences. And thank you. So you have been very, very prolific. Now I happen to not have my glasses, but I have Jano, who can see what you wrote, and she can share some reflections on what she sees.
Okay, people's own lifestyle more important than the common good, car-oriented society. Why can't we be walkable? That is the transportation, or part of the transportation dilemma. Cutting down trees, complaints and no action. What about commuter rail? Too busy to think about this. People not taking climate seriously, no foresight, not looking at the future. How about facing up to the truth? Kids wanting to drive their own cars to school. What path are we setting them out on? Self versus community. Ignorance, deliberate submission of what's true, beautiful, and goodness. Basement flooding. Nobody talks about climate. Stupid development. Unwillingness to get involved. We've got such beautiful, brilliant rants here. Not acknowledging the depth of the challenges. Issues around entitlement. Houses are too big. Why have we already given up? Not enough renewable energy. People just not speaking to each other. Lawns irrigated during a drought. Big pickup trucks flying around. People flying for fun. Too much ranting about other people's problems. Where is the solidarity we need?
So
that's not all. Those are just highlights.
I hope you felt your heartbeat go, and as you were seeing what other people were writing, you felt more inclined to be candid. I am very happy to share with you some exciting news. This morning, I had a conversation with members of the UK cabinet, the team in charge of the upcoming UN climate conference in Glasgow, Jean and I have been to many of them. I've been to 16 consecutive COPs. This will be my 17th. The cabinet has decided to engage our Red Cross team and will be running the rant activity with national representatives that will be joining Glasgow to talk about the future of our planet. And they will be ranting with a tool that came from Wayland.
The global climate negotiators.
Now, this portion was you ranting about what is the likely future. Now we're going to invite you to do something hopefully useful to you. Think about all that energy that you channeled into those rants. Of course, we know that the future could be different. So I just pushed a button. That means that each of you in your screens should be seeing about 8 to 10 of the rants that were shared before, the ones that you just wrote. Your job is to modify that text with small changes. Add a word, change the order of a couple words, subtract a letter, make it so that it's recognizably similar to the original, but it becomes something else, something new, something that you want to see for Wayland's future, about the climate, its causes, its consequences. So for example, I see houses are too big, and I can replace it with homes have a big heart to embrace change. Enter. And after I click enter, it becomes a companion text to the one that had been written. Turn the rant into positive energy. I see that there's already 6 or 7 of them that have happened, and more are coming. Very nice. There's more than 20 contributions already. This is great. So 3, 2, 1, and we're moving on to the next stage. What is happening now is that you're being offered some randomly selected original rant and then what it became. At the bottom, you can say, yeah, I think other people should see this, vote it up. Or you can say, yeah, it's okay, but not so inspiring. Just let it be voted down. Very good. And we see some clear patterns beginning to emerge. Yes. Very nice. I can see in the Zoom window that many of you are smiling, frowning, scratching your heads, thinking, pushing buttons. We are crowdsourcing what resonates. Let's give this less than a minute left. Oh, nice. Very interesting, the diversity of styles. Okay, 20 seconds or so. Enjoy what you have left.
That was about what is, what is not going so well, and what are we saying to those things? What are we ranting about, and how did we now change those rants to tell them what we're really longing for? So on to what if, what is to what if, to what next, right? For this now, I would like all of us to just sit back, take a deep breath. You may even want to close your eyes. And we're going to imagine traveling into the future, let's say to 2030. Imagine that everything that could possibly have been done about those worries, those calamities and injustices that we just ranted about, that everything that could possibly have been done about those was actually done. Imagine that you feel safe and healthy and content. Imagine that it smells good. What does a good day look like in 2030? Are you imagining a warm bed? What does your home look like? Who lives there with you? Can you taste the healthy, delicious food? Where does it come from? What in 2030 is your favorite entertainment? Imagine your community and giving help and getting help where it's needed. And imagine also that communal decisions are being made well and justly. And imagine even in 2030, integrity in all the systems around you. So in that mood, Michael will guide us to the next part of our program here. Michael, it's all yours.
Yeah, thanks. So we've been thinking about these issues, you know, many of us in the room for a long time, and we've had the opportunity now to consider what's not working, what's upsetting, what we could envision, and then beginning to think about what could that look like. We're going to put you into small breakout groups, and we're going to explore what this Wayland of 2030 could look like. We'll do that together. We'll write at least one postcard if we could from that future place, like the one that I showed earlier, and describing what the world is for us then, and then also, you know, what did we do? How did we do it? And so we're kind of looking back on ourselves of 2021, and where did we begin? What were the things that we you know, leapt to, and the things that we brainstormed on together and that we committed ourselves to. So if you want to express it with some enthusiasm and exclamation marks, that's great. If you want to really prioritize, like, this is the thing we did first, and this is the one big thing, that would be great. It can be very general, you know, great job, 2021 self, the way the postcard is, and just what the result is, like the water is clean again. So we're going to be sharing with you a link to a new board, and this board, when we get to it, you'll see a couple of samples of what your group could generate, and you click on the plus sign, and then you go ahead and you take it from there to, so here's the screen share to give you an idea. So you can click on the plus sign, and that will create a new card, and you start typing. So hello, and you know, there it is. And when you're done with it, you click on that blue check box there on the right. So once you click on the checkbox, and we could just do that for illustration. When you do that, that card gets posted, hence postcard. But if you want to change it, you could. You can go to the three dots, and you could either delete it or edit it, and so on. You can't do that with other people's, but you can do it for ones that you yourself have created. There's also a chance to upvote other people's, and so on. It's kind of nice to approach this activity with a sense of the conversation being the heart of this, and just really being in the moment with the people in your group. In the Sunday night group, I can't even tell you, I was in with one of our Board of Selectmen, someone from the Energy and Climate Committee, and we just had a phenomenal conversation, one that was beyond what any of us could have anticipated going in. So it really is to listen to each other, to be inspired by each other, to kind of get the synergy that comes from unexpected, you know, chemistries. And we're not going to be recording, so you have the freedom to say what you'd like. The board, as you just saw, is completely anonymous, so no one will you know, be judging you and what you said. Again, it's pretty basic, and I think, you know, if you don't want to put it to a postcard because the conversation's just flowing, feel free to jot down notes, and then later you could put it into the chat. But it is nice if you do get a chance to put something on one of those cards. I think just a reminder too, it can be really helpful to think, you know, let me make sure I do more listening than speaking, and let's make sure everybody gets a chance in the group to share. So if someone's a bit on the quiet side, just ask them if they have something that that they'd like to share that they didn't get a chance to yet. So again, we're going to a thriving 2030, not a utopia. It's not perfect. There will still be rain. There will still be differences of opinion, and that can be good. There will still be an impact from climate change. We know that. But we're trying to think as best we can, as imaginatively as we can, experimentally as we can. So with that said, we're going to move into the breakout rooms, and just let us know if you need any help. Kat, Pablo, Jano, anything I may have missed? And are there any questions?
You'll have 20 minutes in breakout room.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Have a nice chunk of time to have a conversation.
You know, it says the kids are happy, healthy, and hopeful. Enough said.
How is everyone feeling? How are you doing?
Awesome.
How was your conversation? Stop sharing. See everyone's faces.
I like that future.
Yeah.
Some good stuff there. People are still reading. But, well, you know, you'll be happy to hear this board is always open and will always be there. Always, of course, don't take it literally. So if you keep the link, you can keep returning and you can actually keep on writing postcards. And we really invite you to do so. Anyone want to have say a couple of quick words about their conversation and how that went in their group?
Sure, I'll say something just so that, you know, I'm uncomfortable with silence. Other people are better at that. So I had Bill from Natick and Margie, who I know well in Wayland in our group, but, you know, I think we got into some practical stuff. The three of us are sort of practical people, but if I had to step back, and Kat, I was reflecting on Greg Sparkman's talk to us about this, but I think the difference that we envisioned for 2030, it's like there are new social norms. That's the real theme thing. Like that for Margie, in 2030, the norm is we're not using a ton of pesticides on our lawns and we're letting some things go more natural. The norm for me is I don't see a single ICE internal combustion engine, and lots of people are walking. You know, the norm for Bill is the school buses are electric, but it's what we expect. It's the norm, and it doesn't feel complicated or hard to do.
Ellen, in our group, we talked around that idea also, you know, influencing the discourse from neighborhood conversations right up to getting, you know, more involved in town governance and having that consistency. But we also talked about this kind of, you know, three-footed chair or stool that, you know, education, ongoing climate education and public education on climate is really important, you know, that we're continually informing ourselves, that we're learning, that it's a learning process, and that it's an engagement process. And, you know, our democracy is never going to function unless we participate in it. So this idea of, you know, kind of bringing the science to the problem is really important with climate change, and that public education leg needs to be connected both to, you know, our decision making at the you know, town or municipal level through governance, and also how we make investments. You know, it's really deterministic, you know, the path. And we talked about the, you know, crazy example of Route 20 and, you know, a public survey going out when, you know, we've seen complete disruption of the, major intersection on Route 20 by, 3 feet of water, flooding. And we're talking about, getting state funds to redo a section of Route 20 without any consideration whatsoever mentioned for what the future climate is going to look like. And it's not even, distant future. We already know what the problem is. So informing, these infrastructure investments and, being more proactive than reactive. We shouldn't be struggling to try to, put solar panels on Loker School. We shouldn't be struggling to, put a solar farm at our, at our landfill. We should have a public consensus that is supporting these agendas, so that the work doesn't fall all on the shoulders, of a handful of people who are, in the elected or appointed positions, that there's really a sense that, townspeople are for this, to open the doors and smooth the way, and also to ensure that kind of watchdog, to ensure that we are taking these climate considerations into account when we're making decisions that affect our community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Anyone else have one last report from there? Because we have a last part to the evening. We did what is, we now did what if, what next is next. But we have time for maybe one more reflection.
Maybe I can share that in our group we had, I think it may have been the youngest participant. I don't see her now, but it was very, high school, and very interesting to hear the perception of what it feels like to take small actions that don't seem to have an impact. And that disconnect between present action and alleged future impact that is hard to imagine seems to be a demotivator for youth. And it's really great to have her with us. I understand that many of us belong to this generation that, more white or absence of than, but it's great to sense youth wanting to. I'm glad she showed up.
I had a similar question the other day, and I said, how many women do you think fought for women's suffrage and never got to vote?
I just had one last thought, and I think it really helps when we put forward examples of things that people have done and people are doing in town. Like I was thinking, I should take some photos of all the families walking down our street, walking their kids to school. It's just a fun thing, and they always look happy, and they're out there getting fresh air, and the parents are there, and some of the things that have happened in town, like I can remember being at town meeting when it came up about preserving Mainstone Farm, and I was on the edge of my seat wondering if it would go through, and it was overwhelming. People wanted that. And then I was on one of the committees with the greenways, when the Payne estate was up for sale. And there have been, and not only that, but some of the actors in town, and I'm looking at several of them who have brought about some wonderful, incredible things. And I think maybe we need to do more promotion, and get people fired up about the fact that there are a lot of good people in this town doing a lot of good things, and there's a lot of good happening too. So that's a way to cheer ourselves up when we start feeling down in the doldrums about all the bad stuff. But there's an awful lot of good stuff, going on and has gone on in this town. So let's make sure people know about it, right?
Yeah,
And
we
if-
don't
if-
have to go into the future in order to imagine the good stuff. It's here. Yes, Jennifer.
Well, I don't have a complete thought, but I wish that there were more of a connection between those good people and the good actions and our elected and appointed officials being part of that sense of excitement for change and pride in change. So I really like what Margie just said, and I wish that but I wish it were able to be more of a comprehensive celebration of not just the town, but the town government as well, because there seems to be such a gulf between townspeople and town government, and I don't, as one who is involved in town government, I don't know how to mend the ways that help create that gulf, or in fact bridge the gulf. It's a much longer conversation.
But I'll happily, maybe Ellen has some thoughts, because actually in the next part, I was
maybe you're
going to
thinking what I was
mention.
gonna, but
Yes, go for it.
This is what that made me think of, and it may not be what you want me to say, but we are pushing for a full-time sustainability director, and I think we have support on the Board of Selectmen. But what I really need everybody to do is send an email to the Board of Selectmen saying that this sustainability and a livable future is really important to you, and that we need some staff to help us navigate getting there. I really hope everyone on this call ends up, if you haven't already signed in, created a profile, because we would like to show some leadership here and be the first community that can honestly say at least a third of the households have taken some action on climate change. I mean, for us, that would be maybe ballpark around 1,500 households, and we're probably around 400. So if you haven't been to the site, and you can Google energizewayland.org, and it'll take you to this link. So just remember energizewayland.org, top right button to sign in and create an account. And then you just go to the actions button and tell us all the things you've done. And if there's something you want to do that you haven't done, you can learn about it and how to do it.
You can, if you want to put on your reaction button, if you're already a member of this, if you already have joined, that'd be kind of just fun to see party hats or thumbs up. If you're already part of this, Energize Wayland, which is a fantastic website.
Yes, so there's Energize Wayland. Please go check it out. There's a lot of actions there that we, your neighbors, have chosen and vetted, and there are some recommendations of installers, etc. And we, your neighbors, have talked to these installers, and so the feedback to those installers is very strong, and there are many actions there, a great variety, and there must be many of them that you can do and haven't done yet, and there are definitely some that you have already done. So if you sign up, then you can actually let us know this, and we can count you towards that goal. And when you go on our homepage here, this is the goal by the end of 2021 that Energize Wayland has set for Wayland. It's 1,000 Wayland households taking 2,500 actions by the end of 2021. We're not quite there yet, but we are optimistic that we can make it. So if you sign up and then you let us know what you've done, this will go up. And when you sign up, this will go up by the households engaged will go up by 1 as well. And we hope that you will help us get there to this goal.
And I'd say, we need to all talk to our neighbors more about this. We just had new neighbors move in next door, and he knew I did something environmental. I said, we're thinking about putting solar on. Do you have any ideas about that? And it was like, yeah, we have a few ideas about that, John and I. So, hey, go to the website, please sign in, look at their, another neighbor just called me and said, hey, we're thinking about putting in a heat pump. Do you know anything about that? So, but I think we got to talk to our neighbors who you might not know if they're interested. So I don't know. I think we should, and I just would say that Margie said something that really resonated with me in my group, which was that I think we have to connect this to our values. People move to Wayland because they care about good schools and open space and connection in nature. There are reasons people move to Wayland versus moving to another community. And those values what we know from social science is that we might do something on one thing on climate change, but the thing that makes us do the second and the third thing or the fourth thing is it connects to our values. So I think we have to, we should be more unabashed to talking about the values that matter to us, and that what we have to do to ensure that those values, we're true to those values, and that the place we live in, becomes the place that really, lives those values. So it's not a conversation I usually have, because I'm really like, let's do this. I'm very like in the practical thing, but I think the values discussion is where we connect with people.
We really need to keep this conversation going. And it's not been easy to do outreach to people and to reach people. One of the ideas that came out of the feedback from the last postcards was, what about those billboards in town? Let's go old-fashioned, and let's actually pay a couple of high school kids to paint 4 beautiful, gorgeous, celebratory billboards and put them up there at our intersections. Will that grab people's attention? I think that will help, but definitely word of mouth. And like Ellen said, just have conversations. That's one of the things we need to do. It's not everything, but it's one of those ways. And that kind of community building will carry this effort forward.
I ask the assembled whether there's ever been discussion about a sustainability or nature-centered public art display. Your thought about your comment about the billboards made me think about some very engaging outdoor public art displays that we've had in Newton that really were embracing, uplifting, engaging.
Oh, I love it. Yes. Yes, we talked a lot about art, the role of art. Unfortunately, in our rush, it always kind of goes on the back burner.
It just made me think about the grant stuff with the Cultural Council.
Mm.
Yeah, we've had poetry paths, we've had art inspired by different conservation parcels. When I say we, this is the city of Newton where I work. Art along the rail trail. There's art at City Hall just now. Just all sorts of different mediums and effectively intended audiences and styles and so on. Just wonderfully gentle ways of engaging with people. These events weren't focused on climate action, but what it does is build community. Yeah. It gives people perhaps a slightly different subset of Waylanders an opportunity to relate to a place or a different group of people in a way that they might not have in the past.
Yeah.
And so it might not have any immediate direct effect on our greenhouse gas emission profile, but it might a year later if bonds were formed or ideas were forged. So exactly. I think it has community has value, whatever your goal is, whether it's reducing your greenhouse gas emissions or just being kind to one another. It's all good stuff.
Oh, well said.
All connected.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Perhaps the high school would be amenable to participate in Chantal Bilodeau's Arctic Circle. She has done theater plays, and she commissions theater plays about climate change from dramatists, and then they write short pieces. They are between 30 seconds and 5 minutes long. And they get compiled, curated into a show, and then people all over the world can stage a collection of them. Maybe the high school would be interested in participating in that at some point, and then that could be for the whole community.
We've been talking about establishing for, Massachusetts Race Amity Day is the second Sunday in June. Wayland selectmen have issued a proclamation every year for the last few years And in the Racial Justice Advisory Committee, the events group was conceptualizing a town-wide sort of, festival for the human family on that second Sunday in June, when, people are still around, haven't taken off for the summer, school is kind of wrapping up. And I think that the diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda is intimately entwined with our climate resilience and sustainability agenda. And that would be a beautiful event to collaborate on, to bring, art, music, all kinds of messaging together to really, celebrate our community. That's what it's really, all about.
I
So
turn up the
maybe we
mic
could
while I'm muted.
come together on that.
Yeah.
We've been meeting now for a couple of months, Marcia Berger, Tom Siaka, Judy, her husband Steve, and myself primarily. And we felt that there's really a need to bring the science to the problem and to complement some of the processes that are underway in town. For example, understanding PFAS, understanding the sources, understanding the larger implications, since we're part of a big water resource system, the whole Suasco, Sudbury, Assabet, Concord River system, and how our, how our town goes forward to protect clean water needs a lot more information. And I think we were initially really motivated by concern that, blundering decisions might be made under the pressure of this terrible, ridiculous PFAS situation, which never should have, happened in the first place. If we had truly valued protecting our environment against contaminants, we wouldn't be where we are, but it is where we are. So we thought that we could look for grants and we could try to structure our research to kind of open up opportunities for more citizen science. And we're just getting started. I think there are some River Council grants. So, I mean, if people have burning ideas of, questions that you would like to ask, that we could structure as a research project, that we could mobilize and get some financing for, that would, serve our community, let us know.
Just as a way of saying goodbye, if you could answer the following one or both of the following questions, or if you could complete these sentences. As a result of this conversation, or as a result of this conversation, we, ... And feel free to put your completions of these sentences in the chat. And let's say goodbye that way. But we'll see you around. And thank you so much for coming, for caring, for sharing. And let's watch this scroll by.